Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, and I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Biologics.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Interesting.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Do you believe our government has made contact with?
All right, people. The old expression goes, I'm an idiot. Once bitten, twice shy, third time traumatized. One in the chat, if you can hear me talking now. I tested the mic before the stream. Let me know. One, can you hear me properly? I'm going to go to locals where we should be streaming live as well. Locals, let me know. Can you hear me? One for yes, please. I'm going to go over to Rumble. And let's see. One. Good. Oh, goodness. All right. So before I get too far into this, got to make sure the mic is working. And it's going to be a messed up stream today because the mic is on this side of me because I couldn't find something on this hotel desk to clamp down from the right. So it's on the left. I feel naked. Disoriented, and discombobulated. Let's bring this back up. We're going to bring this back up. They're having, just subcommittees on what are they calling them now? UAPS. What is it called? Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Sightings? I forget what the S stands for. Let me bring this back up here. I don't often use the term, this is looking like a distraction, because everybody says, yeah, why are you focusing on that story? That story is a distraction from whatever. Everything can be a distraction from something else. But my goodness, this convenient timing, talking, exploration about UFOs. And, okay. And by the way, also, I'll say this. I'm not saying these two people look like actors. They're coming off a whole heck of a lot like actors, however. Listen to this very thoughtful question from Ms. Mace. And listen to the very thoughtful answer, which I'm going to explore in a second.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
As opposed to unintelligent extraterrestrials. Look, have you made contact with any dumb aliens? Because that would be interesting, but not interesting enough. Intelligent extraterrestrials. I know she meant intelligent life forms, but no answer. No answer.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Oh, you can't discuss it in a public setting? Is that to suggest you could discuss it in a private setting? I don't like anything about this. This is very, very, it looks campy almost. That's something that I can't discuss in a public setting. Oh, so I have to ask the question that I knew that you wouldn't be able to answer in a public setting? All right.
Okay, and I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Do we have the bodies of the pilots that piloted these crafts? Listen to the answer, by the way. The answer does not necessarily relate to the bodies of the pilots. The answer is very unique.
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
But biologics came with some of these recoveries. That doesn't mean he's talking about the pilots. Biologics means something of a biological substance, as far as I'm concerned. It's very interesting. Like biologics is a very fancy word. Biologics were recovered with the crashes.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
So this guy doesn't know anything firsthand. Let's just appreciate that, by the way. This is coming from people that he's talked to. Non-human biologics were recovered with the spacecraft. Can we understand or the UAPS? You want to understand what exactly that means? Absolutely nothing. That could mean that there was a dog or a monkey on a Russian spacecraft that they haven't been able to identify. So technically, it's an unidentified aerial phenomenon. And it is technically non-human biologics that were recovered with this UAPS. He said absolutely nothing, acutely evaded the specific question being asked so that he could make some ambiguous, it'll let people dream. But it's a statement which, if it were to be true, that it turns out to be a Russian or Chinese aerial craft that had a monkey or a dog or some animal on it for the purposes of testing, his statement is true. It's a UAPS that was crashed that has non-human biologics that were recovered with it. And he's saying what someone told him. So I wanted to start off with something that wasn't going to make everybody puke, i.e. not with Justin Trudeau. And that seemed like a little bit lighthearted so that we can have something of a potentially a lighthearted stream, which we're not going to have because the poo-poo has hit the fan in Canada in a great many respects. So the update today. There's a lot of stuff. There's an update in the Coutts 4. Let me just cough for 1 second. That's not a coof. I just inhaled saliva. There's an update on the Coutts 4 and Jason Levine, who I had on last Friday, and I was with him Monday morning, is in Lethbridge to follow the updates of the Coutts 4. Those are the 4 men who have been arrested on alleged conspiracy to commit murder of an RCMP officer, who have been detained for now, I think it's 18 to 19 months. It's like 500 and some odd days. No bail, because, only Antifa alleged attempted murderers who drive into protesters get bail, or only attempted cop killers, or actually alleged cop killers get bail in Canada. Political prisoners, they don't get bail. Jason Levine, if you're not following him, check him out. All of his links are in the previous streams, is at the courthouse. He's following up on this. Other news coming out of Canada, Jeremy McKenzie, founder of the memeverse Diagolon, has had one of his gun charges, reckless carrying on with a firearm, dropped just like that. They arrested him. They went into his house. They seized his firearms. They placed him under arrest. They filed criminal charges. Just dropped like that. He entered into a peace bond. We're going to get into it. But if that wasn't enough news for the day, it's like, I don't want to say gossip, but there is internet drama afoot. Ezra Levant of Rebel Media accused Jeremy McKenzie publicly of being a Fed. I first saw this in an article from the CBC where it's citing, I couldn't find the article again, but I know it's out there because that's where I saw it. It's like, oh, CBC citing Ezra Levant from Rebel Media accusing Jeremy McKenzie of being a Fed. I was like, oh, haha. They took one of his sarcastic tweets seriously, like when Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, said that the Canadian government had been infiltrated by Maoists and communists. And then Journal de Montréal, the Journal of Montreal, ran the story and said, head of the PPC conspiracy theorist accuses the government of having been infiltrated by Maoists and communists. I was like, you idiots ought to have known that that was a sarcastic joke of a tweet. And if you knew it and ran that story, you're idiots. And if you didn't know it and ran that story, you're idiots. So congratulations, you're idiots. So I said that. CBC fell for one of Ezra Levant's tweets, which was supposed to be sarcastic. Yeah, Jeremy McKenzie's a Fed. And it turns out that it wasn't a sarcastic tweet. And I have said it before and I'll say it again. I like Ezra Levant. His judgment has been good and he's been very value added to reporting on stuff that mainstream media does not report on. And I'll say publicly what I'll say to Ezra privately. To the extent that he seems to be serious on this, I think he's wildly off base. But I'm interested in hearing his argument, which apparently shall be presented to the interweb sooner than later. So that's a massive. It's like starting a insider fighting between the Diagolon, or I think people who don't think Jeremy McKenzie, who was locked up in solitary, debanked, arrested, detained. For those who don't think he's a Fed. Man, this is starting something of a internal strife that might be unnecessary and, in my view, might be wholly misguided. But we'll get there. Hunter Biden, we found out who bought some of his artwork. Hunter Biden is the modern-day Picasso, people. And if you don't appreciate that, you're a bunch of conspiracy theorist nutcases, extreme MAGA Republicans who don't think Hunter Biden's artwork is worth $500,000. He's, who's the Cindy Sherman. He's the new Cindy Sherman. I think that's her name. We're going to get into that. And then we're going to get to some other stuff. So I got a bunch of stuff on the backdrop. So everybody understands I'm on the road. I have crossed back into the land of the freer. I'm saying the land of the freer. Not yet in the state of the free. Not yet in the free state of Florida. I've started the trek from Montreal, Quebec down to Florida. And it took me through Thousand Islands this time because there's some border issues, some delays, like an hour delay at the Canadian border. So I'm on my way back to the free state of Florida. I have entered the freer country. It's not a free country yet because I don't think it's entirely free, and I'm in New York State, so they ain't free in New York State. But I'm on my way down, and on my way down, I'm taking my time. I got 1 kid, 2 dogs. We're going to go we did 6-7 hours today. We're going to do another 5-6 hours tomorrow. Then we're going to stop, and I'm going to hit up Tim Pool Friday night. It's going to be amazing. Friday at 2:30, Gad Sad is going to come back on for a live stream, talk about the launch of his new book, Happiness. The irony, or just the cosmic circular thing of everything's sounding like Kevin Nealon out of Happy Gilmore. Driving up from Florida to Montreal, I did a live stream with Gad Sad talking about his book. Now the book launched yesterday. We're going to do another live stream Friday. So Friday, 2:30, going to be live with Gad Sad. Friday evening, live on Tim Pool. It's going to be amazing. And then what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow, I'll see if I can get a stream going. Okay, so that's the intro housekeeping. Let me just make sure because I'm so bloody neurotic. I'm sure I did it because as you came to the stream. Oh, so all that to say is I spent the entire day in a car. I couldn't get my exercise on, so I might be a little antsy, more antsy than normal. Jason Levine is probably going to be coming on at some point. Jeremy McKenzie might be coming on tonight at some point as well. They both have the links. But you might have seen when you came into the stream, it said, this stream contains a paid promotion. Because it does, people. How does my skin look? Does my skin look good? Do I look younger? Oh, and by the way, apparently Genucel is going to start making hair products, or I'm going to test out their hairline products. But you did notice this episode, this video, this stream contains a paid promotion because it does. And I want to thank my sponsor, Genucel. If I look younger, wait before you go. Well, you'll get your promo code for your discount. If I do look younger, let me just bring this back out again. Look at my beautiful face. My beautiful, ugly punim. This is what we call a punim that only a mother could love. If I look younger, you know why. Genucel, it's a sponsor. It's a great company. They make a bunch of good skincare products that people love, that people attest to. I did my due diligence on this as well. Dude, will you be quiet back there? Got a kid who's hiding in a fort watching Spider-Man. Genucel, they make this cream, a retinol type cream that apparently makes your skin firmer, makes it look younger. They make a bunch of other great skincare products. I'm not really into these types of things. Yeah, I care about my hair only because it's become a defining element of my physical identity, but one should not be enamored by, thank you. One should not be enamored by superficial attributes, although it is good to look young and take care of your skin. Genucel is a company started by an Egyptian pharmacist, who came to America, opened up a pharmacy, had his own proprietary blends of skin cream, which he then gave to some of his clients, and they showed up the Monday after the Friday, said, we love this stuff, we want more of it, and thus was born Genucel. Based in New Jersey, I think they employ something like 50 some odd people, made in America. They are the sponsors for the New Jersey Devils. The product is great, and people swear by it. And if I look younger, now you know why. Genucel.com, promo code VIVA. You'll get 70% off the most popular package, which has the retinol. How do I zoom in on this? Which has the retinol stuff here for the skin. It's great. The link is in the pinned comment, and I like to thank my sponsors for obviously sponsoring. Shh, quiet, please. Okay. So that is the sponsor. Now, let's start off with some of the good stuff. We're going to start off before we go over to Rumble. Before we go over to Rumble exclusively. How it works, everybody, for those who don't know, I have exclusivity with Rumble. We start on Rumble and YouTube and locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. We're going to end on Rumble, we're going to end on YouTube, go over to Rumble. Need the kid to be quiet. We're going to start on YouTube and Rumble, go over to Rumble, then we're going to go over to locals for an after party. I'm being upstaged. No, I'll tell you what's going on. No, hold on one second. Where is it? Kids. No, I bet like kid's going to kid, dog's going to dog, and the only thing I hope is that Pudge doesn't pudge because this hotel has carpeted floor. Although they let dogs in, which is good. Okay, who's buying Hunter Biden's artwork? The question everybody's been dying to know. Who's buying Hunter Biden's artwork? Where is it? Here. The more things go on, the more the corruption in plain sight is revealed for all of us to see. I've said this before, I said it again. Everybody is starting to understand it, at least those who are paying attention. Everything they accuse Donald Trump and family of is that which Biden and family have done. Everything they impeached twice, Donald Trump for twice acquitted, impeached but acquitted by the Senate. Everything they impeached him for is stuff Joe Biden has done. They talk about Eric Trump being a cokehead. I mean, they don't even understand the irony of, or the absolute idiocy of pointing a finger and having three pointing back right at you. Everything they accuse Trump and family of having done is that which Biden and family has done themselves. We now know about the quid pro quo, demanding payments from foreign governments, threatening to withhold aid until they fire prosecutors who were investigating the company that was paying Hunter Biden millions of, $60,000 a month because he's so qualified. Remember when we were talking about Hunter Biden? He's an aspiring artist. He's the new Jackson Pollock. He's the new Cindy Sherman. He's the new Picasso. His artwork selling for $500,000 and more. We didn't know who the buyer was. And people were saying, yeah, this raises some ethics concerns. If you don't know who's buying Hunter Biden's artwork for $500,000, could create some conflict of interest. It could be money laundering, like speaking fees, advances on books that nobody buys. It could be money laundering. It could just be outright corruption. Well, now we know. Now we know who bought the Hunter Biden artwork. And lo and behold, it's exactly what you think it is. It's in your face. It's always been in your face. And the only people who don't see it are the liars, the blue checkmark MSM propagandists who are trying to tell you, don't look there, go after Trump. Joe Biden literally said it. What I know is this: you have to go after Trump. Who's buying Hunter Biden's artwork? Hunter Biden sold $1.3 million in art, and one buyer was a Dem donor friend Joe appointed to a prestigious commission, or as we say in Francais, un prestigious commission. Commission. That's a joke. This is all a joke. Oh, I want to hear what Karine Jean-Pierre had to say. Bear in mind, Hunter Biden, $60,000 a month, give or take, for Burisma, because he's got business acumen. And I say the crackhead business is not to make fun of people with addiction. People with addiction have serious lifelong problems they have to deal with, struggle with, and battle against. All that to say is unqualified, but for political favors, it buys through daddy. As apparently buying his artwork will get you political appointments. I went down here. Washington. First son Hunter Biden's novice artwork has raked in at least $1.3 million. If this does not already make your stomach turn with corruption, you might want to check your stomach. He sold his novice artwork for $1.3 million, with buyers including a Democrat donor friend whom his dad named to a prestigious commission, a report said Monday. Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali. I'm going to Google Elizabeth Naftali after this. A Los Angeles real estate investor and she's a philanthropist. Remind me to talk about the Bill Clinton artwork in Epstein's place. I won't forget, but if I do, let me know. Naftali bought one of Hunter's works, according to Business Insider, which cited sales records kept by his art dealer, the Georges Berge Gallery of Manhattan. Naftali was appointed by President Biden to the Commission for the Preservation of Americans' Heritage Abroad in July 2020, about 8 months after Hunter's first art show, which took place in Hollywood. They don't know. We don't know the timing here. And as far as I'm concerned, it's damned one way, damned the other. Did she get appointed after buying the artwork, or did she buy the artwork after getting appointed? I'll tell you something. If she bought it after getting appointed, they're paying her too much. It one way or the other, what it is, it's an implicit, corrupt, we know what's going to happen, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, buy it now, I appoint you later, or I appoint you now and you pay it back later. It's unclear whether Naftali bought the Hunter artwork or how much she paid for it. A Biden administration official told the publication that Naftali was recommended for her preservation board post by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who also seems to have a good investment record when it comes to the market, and that she didn't buy the position through the art deal. No, she didn't buy the position through the art deal. She invested in her future. So preposterous. I'm just going back to the screen to see if either Jason or Jeremy are on the back screen. Meanwhile, Business Insider said the largest chunk of Hunter's assets, of Hunter's art sales so far, has gone to the single deep-pocketed mysterious buyer who scooped up 11 artworks for a total of $875,000. It's only $80,000 each. I mean, the guy got a discount. It's the baker's dozen. Did he get a 13th one just thrown in there? The outlet reported that one of Hunter's buyers is his, quote, sugar brother, Kevin Morris, a wealthy lawyer who reportedly lent him about $2 million to pay off back taxes. It wasn't known whether Morris was the top buyer. Insider's report was the most detailed to date on the first son's art sales. Can you imagine this? Maybe he does have a life of struggle and that it materializes in particularly insightful, meaningful artwork. Berge has refused to cooperate with House Oversight Committee requests for the names of the art buyers. How far down do we have to go with this? It's not so long. Let's finish this article. I'm gonna tell you a story also. The Post previously reported that Hunter Biden sold 5 prints for $75,000 each, totaling $375,000. The show drew ethics concerns over the fact that President Biden's embattled nominee for U.S. ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, attended the show. Garcetti ultimately was confirmed by the Senate in March after the White House stood by him for almost 2 years, including during criticism from fellow Democrats about his handling of sexual harassment claims against the aide. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. House Republicans are investigating Hunter's prior business dealings with international businesses associates from countries such as China and the Ukraine, the totally straightest up of countries on earth. Also, none that have any, potential conflict of interest with America. None. Where his father held, he expressed concern about Hunter Biden's art career being a possible new avenue for influence peddling and money laundering. That's right. It went from the pay-to-play of the Clinton Foundation to the pay-to-play of Hunter Biden's artwork. There is evidence that Joe Biden met with Hunter's associates from China, Mexico, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Ukraine during his vice presidency and in the years before he entered the White House. The White House said in 2021 that Hunter Biden's art sales would be anonymous. Yeah, my ass. Look, you work in law long enough, you know that things don't even stay anonymous when they're supposed to be kept behind China walls. Pun intended. Then White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, "We still do not know and will not know who purchases any paintings." Bullshit. Ethics experts scoffed at the purported anonymity of Hunter's art buyers. Richard Painter, who was President George W. Bush's chief ethics lawyer, said buyers buy artwork to hang on the wall, not put in the closet, making anonymity essentially impossible to maintain. The White House and Hunter Biden's legal team did not immediately respond to requests. All right. I said I shouldn't forget, and I won't forget. Everybody remember the artwork of Bill Clinton sitting in the house of Jeffrey Epstein? Bill Clinton artwork. Let me just pull it up. There's nothing freaky about it. There's nothing totally bizarre. Here, let's just get this one up here. There's nothing bizarre about it at all. That's not the right one. Yeah, let's share the window here. Just, you walk into Jeffrey Epstein's place and you see this on the... Imagine you walk into Jeffrey Epstein's place and you see this on the wall. You know what that means. And I was listening to, it was Joe Rogan and Duncan, I'm not going to remember his name, the stand-up comedian. I forget his name now. And they were talking about this, and Rogan blew Duncan's mind. He says, you walk into somebody's house and you see this, you know that they've got someone by the proverbial crumb. When someone walks in and sees Hunter Biden's artwork in their house, they know who they owe the favor to. They know what the game is. When you walk into Epstein's house and you see a compromising painting of Bill Clinton, the president of the United States of America, a bizarre, compromising, this is a trophy. This is a trophy that says, we have something on you and we own you. And hanging up Hunter Biden's artwork in your house says the exact same thing. You owe me a favor because I bought this wonderful piece of art for however much. And now, when they refer to Hunter Biden as a novice, he's a novice artist. When I was growing up, my dad said, look, you need to live the life of an artist in order for your art to ever gain notoriety as an artist. A lawyer, and I can tell you this from experience, taking the same picture as a struggling artist, that work, although it might be identical, will be perceived differently depending on who produced it. Artwork, in order to gain notoriety, to gain value, it needs to be produced within the life of an artist, within the framework of an artist, within the struggles of an artist. Someone doesn't just produce a piece and it becomes worth money overnight in the absence of a couple of external factors, one of which is the pay-to-play political influence peddling. That is exactly what's going on with the Hunter Biden artwork. Pay to play, peddle political influence, and when everyone comes into your house and they see a nice Hunter print on the wall, they know who you're friends with and they know who are friends with you. There you go. Oh, here you go. Art your pain, pain your art. Because not to say that I could be a world-class photographer. I think I could. But nobody takes the artwork of a not struggling, decent life lawyer the same way they read into the artwork of a struggling on the street. I don't know. Well, Jackson Pollock later on in life actually achieved notoriety. Who's the other guy from Quebec? Louis Riopel. He also attained notoriety. But you have to live the life of an artist, not the life of Hunter Biden, who all of a sudden overnight, as his dad makes his way to the White House, starts selling his artwork for sums that would make a starving artist salivate. Okay. Now, oh my gosh. Okay, good. We're live on Locals and Rumble. I forgot to check there. What we're going to do now, I'd love it if Jason, let me check my Twitter DMs and see if Jason Levine is coming up. And if he isn't, okay, I'm going to see, I want to see if I can get Jason Levine up. Well, Jason Levine will pop up to give us the update on Coutts. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go over to Rumble, the free speech platform, and we're going to reward them for being what they are. Let me just get the link. Everybody who's on YouTube, come on over there. That's where the party's going to be. You know what's amazing? Just having a good mic is like, it takes me 10 minutes to set up now wherever I go. Like I got my mic, I got my LED light. Just having a good mic makes the difference. You could have, it could be crappy video. A good mic is so much better. Oh, Levine's in the backdrop. So you know what? We're going to do this on both platforms. The link is there, but let's give this as much exposure as humanly possible. Jason, are you ready to come in? Get ready for some screechy audio, people. I'm predicting the audio on Jason's end might be, we're going to have to deal with it. Sir, how goes the battle?
The battle's going interesting, Viva. I got to tell you that the information that we're getting and the procedures that we're going through is very, very unique. I haven't seen stuff like this before. It's been an interesting couple of days, I got to tell you.
Okay, how much time do you have, just so I know if I have to rush through certain things?
As much as you need, Viva. We're done for the day.
Done for the day. Perfect.
Yeah.
Your audio is actually not horrendous, so
Thank you.
This is going to work well. Your audio, oddly enough, is better than the audio to the later half of my interview with Tamara Leach. It got a little interference. Okay,
that could be
tell everybody.
CSID.
Yeah, well, no, it's you make jokes, but nothing's beyond anything anymore.
We've had a lot of green tech problems. Well,
and Jeremy McKenzie's a Fed, so who knows what's going on? Okay, we might talk about this. I know you don't like to get into the gossip of the interwebs. Jason, you rock, class act. Let everybody know who you are if they did not see our stream from last Friday or the one from Monday morning.
Sure. I'm an independent journalist in Alberta. I have a podcast. I do it twice a day. And for the last month or so, I've been covering exclusively every morning the Coutts 4 situation, trying to find out what's going on and get the information that isn't out there. And I've been now in Lethbridge in front of the courthouse here. And I've been sitting through the court from Monday all the way through Wednesday today. And I'll be here all the way through Friday, covering the matters and bringing it out to the people in a proper way, because we want to be sensitive to any publication bans that apply here. So we're making sure we're doing it the proper way.
And there are publication bans on certain elements. I guess you can mention or specify on what the publication bans, to what they relate?
Yeah, for sure. So the publication ban that's in effect right now, the full one, the defense publication ban that got put in at the very beginning, which covered the information inside of these ITOs, or information to obtain. These are documents that are used to get warrants. So very early, the information in these documents were very, very difficult to read because they were no evidence. It was just information that was really harsh against the man. And the defense decided that for the fairness of justice and to make sure that jury selection wasn't tainted, this information was put under a publication ban. Everything else was allowed.
And now a publication ban means it cannot be published, but it doesn't mean it can't be obtained. So there are people could basically find this information on their own if they were so inclined, but they can't publish it because the idea is you don't want to taint the jury pool.
Well, that's an interesting question, Viva, because I'm not quite sure. I've never gotten a copy of an unredacted version of these ITOs. So the only thing I've ever gotten my hands on are the redacted ones, which are the ones that you can use because the redaction portion is the publication ban in effect. The rest of it is not. I do understand that there's been some media that reported on these ITOs early, very early before the ban, and that information's out. So there may be copies out. I don't have those copies.
No, good. And even if the copies are out there, like I'm not one to say, oh, well, someone else did it. I'm not taking any chances because they don't even need an excuse. Okay, so we don't need to go over the 30,000 foot overview of the Coutts 4. I've talked about it now, at least in the last week. Everybody who's been watching will know about it.
Sure.
Coutts 4 have been detained for going on now damn near 2 years. They haven't gotten a trial date. They've been systematically denied bail. What were the ending proceedings this week, and what's the status of where they are now?
Well, the proceedings this week that I can kind of update you on was yesterday the Crown asked for another new publication ban. So this is the Crown asking for a publication ban. And this would be on information that is contained in this sealed envelope that we spoke about, which is why we're here this week. Because on June 29th, there was a sealed envelope that contains information that caused the Crown to be recused from this matter. So now this week, what we're going through is we're trying to figure out whether or not the judge can open up that sealed envelope, read the contents of it, and go ahead and act on it. The challenge at this point is a client solicitor privilege of this information. The Crown is claiming that it's under client solicitor privilege. So for the last 2 days, we've really been arguing whether or not client solicitor privilege applies and whether or not it can be pierced. We started yesterday off with that publication ban on those items. So what the Crown was asking for was the information in that sealed envelope, if opened and presented in court, they want a ban on that publication of that information. And the decision that the judge makes on that information, they want a publication ban on that. Unfortunately for the Crown, they didn't do the process properly. They didn't post things properly. They didn't notify people properly. So currently, they didn't, well, other than just now, so I'll get to that in a second, but yesterday they were denied that publication ban, and then we continued. At the end of the day, they brought it back up. So there's a temporary publication ban in effect for tomorrow and after if this information is unsealed and if there is a decision. So going on tomorrow, if this comes out, I won't be able to talk about the contents of that envelope or the decision from the judge. But you'll know whether or not we're continuing with this trial or not, what the decision was, because from my understanding, it might end the trial.
Now we're going to back it up a little bit because this might confuse people. I just kicked a dog. Sorry, Winston. He went under the table.
Oh, the dog's okay. You just confessed.
Okay, so there was a publication ban on certain information from the beginning, not on the bulk of it, but it's certain details, and you could probably, people can piece that together if they go out and just read enough about it. The bottom line, the men were accused of or charged with conspiracy to commit murder, the whole cache of weapons that they found, etc. Just recently, there was an issue of, and I think I'm quoting from what the judge said, gross prosecutorial misconduct. That is in this case, correct?
Prosecutorial misconduct, yes. I don't know about gross. I've seen some notes that he didn't say gross, but he certainly said prosecutorial misconduct. But we have some new terms that came out yesterday I'd like to update you on.
Now, but do we have any details as to what the prosecutorial misconduct might pertain to?
No, that's the part that's sealed. So we don't actually know what that is.
So look, and I know nothing. I know nothing. So this is, if it's right, it's only because I can deduce, I can put things together. If they're talking about prosecutorial misconduct and they want to seal on certain information or a publication ban, I presume it's going to have to do with like, ways and means. It's going to have to do with methods, or it's going to have to do with exculpatory evidence that the Crown failed or neglected to turn over. That's what my best guesses would be.
Well, through the arguments, we kind of got a bit of an idea of what it might be. It was advice. They were arguing about whether or not it's legal advice or just general advice, because that matters for client solicitor privilege.
Yeah.
But this advice caused the police, it was advice to the police, the RCMP, to take action. What was described to us, which we can talk about, are the police were doing some actions. They came to the Crown and asked a question. The Crown gave an answer to them. Then they did a 180. This was the term used, and then went ahead and violated charter rights. So we don't know what the question was, we don't know what the answer was, and we don't know what it's pertaining to, but this is information that did come out, that the police asked a question, the RCMP, they got an answer from Steve Johnston, and then they did a 180.
Who's Steve Johnston?
Steve Johnson's the deputy crown, so the lead crown for this matter, and he's the one that's been recused. So he's not here anymore. He did appear for a brief moment at the end of the day via video because something else happened that I'm going to have to get to in a moment with you at the end of the day.
He's been recused means he's been pulled from the prosecution.
Correct. He's been pulled from the prosecution on consent. So the Crown's office consented to that recusal as well.
I guess it'd be less embarrassing than debating it and losing. Plus, what difference does it
I
make?
think the debate, the argument would have brought forward too much information, possibly, that they didn't
Well,
want to have out.
it's an illusion. It's an illusory victory as far as I'm concerned, because take out the prosecutor, the new one doesn't need to be told what to do. It's like you're swapping the devil you know for the devil you know, which is going to be just the replacement of the devil you know. So gross misconduct. And now, as far as the bases of the accusations go, as far as we know, and this is all public, we talked about it already. There's no recordings, no text messages that we know of. What there seems to be is discussions that were not deliberately not recorded involving the police.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened there. So we do know that the only information from the undercover officers is written statements and verbal testimony. There's no recording of anything that they did. We don't know if there ever was one. We have to assume that there isn't one because that would be a violation as well. But at this stage, no, there's no recordings of the interactions. These are all testimony and written statements from two undercover officers.
All right, and that's where was it that we were talking? And I remember hearing someone else talk about it that they meet, and then you go take notes afterwards. Oh, it was on the Monday morning stream with Donald Best, and Donald Best is like, yeah, you have police who apparently were young, attractive females meeting with these guys, maybe over a beer or three, and then go down after the meeting and write down their notes about what they said, and that's the basis apparently of the. Right.
Anybody who's been through a class or something like that, taking your notes at the end is not really the most effective way to get all the accurate information.
Dude, taking your notes at the time is not the best, because if you're taking notes to incriminate, I'd rather have a recording so I know what actually happened, not your self-serving. Yeah. Okay. Now, what was I just about to say a second ago? You said
I do have quite a bit of information from yesterday that kind of changes things for you.
Okay, please go for it.
Yeah, so during the arguments of the defense, they opened their arguments by talking about client solicitor privilege and the different ways to pierce it.
If I may stop you there, just so people also understand that. This is solicitor-client privilege between the Crown and their counsel, not between the defendants. So oddly enough, it's going to sound peculiar to people who are out there saying, how's there solicitor-client privilege between the Crown? But there is. So just so everybody understands that context.
They expanded on that today, so I actually understand a little bit more what they mean by that. So they're actually calling Stephen Johnson the lawyer, and they're calling the Crown's office the client. So this is how they're setting that up. So if there's a violation there, it's between, or if there's privilege there, it's between the Crown's office itself as the client, the one receiving advice, and then Steve Johnson's the one giving the advice as the lawyer. Now, there is some more information and some new terms that came out yesterday. So the defense, as they were laying out the envelope for piercing the veil, they showed how in Canada, as low as a civil tort and as high as a criminal activity, these are valid reasons to pierce the veil. And what they were showing or telling us is they now are accusing Steve Johnson of crime fraud. So that's an actual legal term, crime fraud, and that is when a lawyer does something illegal and gives advice that causes somebody to break a law. So crime fraud is a specific thing under the law here, and it means exactly that. A lawyer gave advice that caused somebody else to commit a crime. So that term's been used now, and it's also been referred to as unlawful and prosecutorial misconduct.
Prosecutorial misconduct. I mean, this is going to work its way into, I presume, at some point, touch wood, if these charges get dropped, like Jeremy McKenzie's, which we're going to get to, this is what malicious prosecution smells like. Like, I don't know if that term came out yesterday.
Not yet, but some better stuff came out today. So I'm going to kind of finish up yesterday and bring us into today. And then at 2:00 after we came back from lunch adjournment, out of the blue, there was a new magic affidavit that came out of the Crown's office. The Crown provided an affidavit from someone else in their office who's King's Counsel. So in Canada, this is a high standard for King's Counsel. And this King's Counsel provided an affidavit giving an opinion that the material that they're talking about here is client solicitor privilege. So that we had to argue, or the defense had to then argue whether or not this was an admissible piece of document, this affidavit. We ended the day yesterday with an adjournment early to allow the defense to prepare arguments today to argue whether or not it was admissible. And then that brought us to this morning with the first argument for that.
Stop there. The it is admissible being the new affidavit?
The new affidavit, which is meant to...
What's the date? Do you know the date of the new affidavit? Is it yesterday that it was?
That's interesting. So at the time, we didn't get that information. Today we did. It was done within a couple hours before presented to court.
Can you believe that? I want everybody to understand how patently absurd that is. This case has been, the charges have been laid damn near 2 years ago, and they're filing an affidavit to cover their asses in real time, hours before they present it. They go to the office, they throw together an emergency affidavit to say, here's why what we did wasn't illegal. I don't know what it says, I'm presuming. And then they sign it and then serve it on the defendants and say, here, deal with this now. That's phenomenal.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So this morning, the first part of the day, we had the defense arguments around this, and they argued it was too late. It would be paramount to reopening the Crown's arguments, and it was non-material. So they brought all three of those arguments up with case law as well. And then the Crown argued for a little bit about all of those. But the strongest argument that the Crown presented was the seniority of the lawyer should give him enough credibility to go ahead and have this put in place. The judge did not agree, so the judge did not allow it to be admissible and did throw it out. We still believe that the Crown was successful because we believe the Crown was attempting to just stall things. There was no good material in this affidavit. It was nothing more than just getting a note from your friend that you're a good person, which carries no weight in these kind of proceedings.
Now, I don't know criminal procedure all that well at all. In civil law, you would get to depose the affiant. Was there any discussion to say bring the person who signed the affidavit so we can ask them questions as to why it's only now that they're filing this?
That's an interesting question. The judge asked that, and the answer he received was, "We don't need to," or along the lines like, "We don't want to." And that was from the Crown.
Okay, well, that's bullcrap.
I mean, and also, why was it not a testimony instead of an affidavit? And that was the answer for that.
Okay. And so the essence of that affidavit, did you get to see that affidavit?
No, but they did talk about it, and it was just an opinion that from within the office that somebody who looked at some of the information and said this is client solicitor privilege. And it turned out that, as argued with the judge himself pointed out in the affidavit that they called it a advisory opinion, not legal opinion. And because of that, the judge said this is not even a legal opinion. So it carries no weight. And even if he did found it was admissible, it would have no weight in his decisions anyways. So on all those grounds, he decided it's not admissible.
So you just wasted 2 hours arguing about an affidavit that was ultimately...
Yeah, 3 hours in a day. So we're now into the next day on an affidavit that was moot from the beginning. We all knew that. It was nothing more than just a note from your friend that said you're a good guy in legalese.
So the motions for this week are it was the Crown's motion to seal some evidence.
No, defense. So the defense found some unredacted information that is really damning against the Crown.
Hold on. So it's the defense's motion to unseal.
It's the defense found information and put it into a sealed envelope. Oh, here's a piece of information you should know. So the Law Society of Alberta is involved because when the defense found this privileged information or potentially privileged information, they started to work with the Law Society of Alberta to ensure that they went through all the proper procedures to provide it to the court in a sealed envelope, provide the information to the Crown. There's an entire procedure when client solicitor privilege is suspected, and there has to be a decision on it. So all of that happened through the Law Society, and according to the Crown today, there's been no errors with that. The defense has done a good job of making sure we're following that. So the arguments weren't really about whether or not the defense could do this. The question is only at this point whether or not the privilege can be pierced. So we had lots of good arguments about that today as well.
And so what ended up happening today?
Interestingly enough, there's something at the end here that we're not sure about. I did speak to one of the lawyers off the record, and he couldn't really tell me what happened. But after lunch, when we came back, the very beginning, first thing that happened was the Crown and the defense team, the entire team, assistants and all, left the court and went to a room for 20 minutes to have a discussion. So we're not sure what the discussion was about, but we do know that when they came back, they continued. The speculation is a deal was offered and it was rejected, but we don't have that information.
No, I was going to say, like, it's like they're not going to offer as a deal to drop the charges because I don't even think the defendants would accept that. And so they're going to try to say, well, we'll agree to something so that we all save face here. But this might be one of those situations where no face deserves to be saved by the Crown.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Crown really, I got to be honest, did not do very good arguments. So a lot of the arguments for keeping it sealed were things like privilege is a really, really high standard, and we really shouldn't be piercing it unless it's life and death type of thing, or it's going to prove innocence, that kind of thing. But the judge wasn't buying that because privilege can be pierced during civil matters as well. So the judge himself kept bringing up the fact that, no, you can pierce a veil for many different reasons. It doesn't have to be the ultimate standard. In fact, it seemed like the Crown was trying to put the standard of piercing up above beyond all reasonable doubt, which is a very high standard in itself. But that argument didn't carry much weight. It didn't seem like at all. And during those arguments, it did seem like that the judge was hinting to the Crown, you're not going to win this. Like, you're not going to win this. So that we think that's why that conversation was prompted after lunch. Because before that is when it was not looking good at all for the Crown.
And I'll bring this up. Brad Raymond says, Viva, whatever happened to transparency? There's nothing about this case that requires secrecy. That's the bottom.
Let me touch on that. So I started today by noticing there was nobody in the accredited media box today. So the first 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, there was a gentleman sitting in the accredited media box doing some live tweeting. That gentleman wasn't here today. So I started the day today asking the court whether or not I could be that live tweeter, because there is nobody in that courtroom who's doing any of that. Unfortunately, at first the clerk said, "Are you accredited?" And I said, "I'm not." And then the clerk said, "No, you can't." But fortunately for me, I did read the Alberta laws and rules around this, and it is up to the judge's decision, and they can allow anybody they want to do that. So I did push a little bit harder, and the clerk went and spoke to the judge. Unfortunately, the judge did uphold the decision to not allow me to live tweet, but I'm allowed to live tweet in the hallway. So that's what I've been doing today.
First of all, it's amazing, Jason. I mean, like, how is this as far as an experience goes?
This is just another day for me because I'm a seeker of the truth, and this is where I'm going to find it. But yeah, I'm kind of experienced, Viva, in talking to the court. I'm a paralegal from Ontario, so I had no issues speaking to the court. And when you look around and there is no accredited at all, so there's nobody reporting on this, I thought it would be prudent to go ahead and try and find out if I could be that person. So yeah, I did have to jump out and go to the hallway to do some live tweeting.
I would have pushed harder on the live tweet. See, I am accredited. I'm a paralegal. I'm an accredited paralegal. Now just accredit me here and on the spot.
I did want to try and use the argument that I identify as accredited media, but I didn't know if that would work today.
I don't even know what accredited media. I mean, you just have to fill out some forms online and be reputable, I guess.
Yeah, accredited means, and I've looked into it. I'm not going to be doing it. You need to be an organization approved by the government. So on that fact alone, I'm not interested.
And you haven't seen, have you seen Ezra Levant or Rebel Media there? I know they were there yesterday, but were they there today?
So I'm going to be very careful with that conversation, because if you take a look at my Twitter, there's been some action around that. But there was no gentleman in the accredited box today, no.
Okay. And I'm not trying to pick fights or start fights. It's just...
No. I'm in the middle of one. I just want to be careful because there's a very litigious person involved in this. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay, now, do we have? Is there? So what else? What else is there that you haven't mentioned that we should know?
Let me just take a quick look at my notes here, Viva. But abuse of process came up as another problem, and the defense made a statement that really caught my attention. That if this was only a charter issue, I would understand, but this is much more than a charter issue. And a charter issue that they were hinting at was search and seizure of our charter, so Section 8. So they were talking about whether or not Section 8 was violated. But the defense did make it clear today that we've got a bigger problem than just a charter issue. Now, something interesting happened at the end of the day that we're not quite sure about, because as the judge himself said, he's being very cryptic when he was speaking about it. But all of a sudden, the Department of Justice's name came up in relation to Stephen Johnston, and something else that came out all of a sudden. We don't know about this. So what ended up happening was there was an adjournment till tomorrow. Stephen Johnston came on the screen, and he was told to be prepared to be called, possibly. But something to do with the Department of Justice is now involved, and there's a matter that's very serious dealing with Stephen Johnston. We don't have more details about that right now.
Oh, one can only hope. This is my issue with this. Is the accusations are very serious, and some people point that out. but that does not mean that they're absolutely not horse shit. I mean, it's not. It's knowing the evidence as it currently stands and what it's based on. The accusations could be very serious. They could have, manufactured some very serious accusations against Pat King as well. I think they tried. Yeah. So it's not the seriousness of the accusations, but rather the seriousness of the evidence, which has not yet been tested in court. But it looks thin.
Yeah, the judge even brought up today, we have no exhibits at all right now at this stage. So he actually commented on that some of the stuff should be exhibits at this point, and they're not. So the Crown has apologized, and they're going to start putting some stuff into exhibits.
Apologizing? This is their flipping job. There's no apologizing for not having done your job.
Yeah, it's been actually disappointing to see how bad the office has been governing themselves. The mistakes that they're making. For example, the media or the publication ban they were trying to do, one of the things they had to do was just post it in the lobby of the courthouse. They failed to do that. They had to send it to the accredited media list. They failed to do that. So this is weird, odd things that the office is just, I don't know, disorganized, disheveled, but they're just doing things that just out of place here. It's kind of weird because I do have faith in the legal system and I do want the prosecution's office to do a good job, but they're dropping a lot of balls and it's just odd in my opinion.
I cannot affirm with equal certainty that I have faith in the system anymore.
I know, but look, I'm trying to repair the system, and I don't think we have another solution. But we definitely got a lot of information in the last few days, and I believe there's some things that may lead to new law. I could get into more of that a little bit later in the week, but we've seen some things that I think Alberta should be taking a look at when it comes to legislation around the justice system here.
Well, this would be federal, I think, in any event, in terms of legislation. But if they can only just enforce their existing malicious prosecution to the extent that it is malicious prosecution, we'll see. But nothing of this procedure makes any sense. Nothing of this process makes any sense, except the degree to which it doesn't make sense, because 500 and some odd days behind bars in remand, by the way, not in jail where you have more privileges than in remand.
Well, let me leave you with one more quote from the judge at the end of the day, because we're not quite sure what happened. They left the room, they had a conversation, they came back, and they all were talking very cryptic. But the judge made this line: "If my eyes are looking big, that's because they are."
That's what I refer to as a judicial spanking, in as much as they can come in the most polite form. Translation: what the hell is going on, prosecution?
Yeah.
These are four. How did the four men look? Are they there in person?
Oh, yeah, they're doing good. Well, Tony is a little malnourished. He's got an issue with his gut. It's something he's always had. He needs probiotics. And unfortunately, because he was moved from where he normally stays, the probiotics were in that court or in that remand. Even though we brought some new probiotics for him to this court, because this is where he physically is, they won't administer that. So there's an emergency application in just to get him his probiotics today.
All right. When can we go live again, Jason?
I'm happy to do whenever I can, unless we're in session, Viva, because I really want to capture that information.
There's no question. You're the only. Are you the only person there now?
I am. Yeah, I'm the only person there doing this right now.
Did I ask you during our stream? Did I ask you? Are you married? Kids?
Happily married with 2 kids, 8 and 6. So you're homeschool, homestead.
No, but and now you're away from your wife and your 2 kids. On the road in Lethbridge. I mean, that's
well, lucky for us, I did bring them with me. They're not in court, so they get to go to the water park yesterday. They went to trampoline park. They're enjoying themselves while they're in Lethbridge.
Okay, that's phenomenal. That makes travel bearable for those who don't have kids, or some people might not be able to understand it entirely. Like traveling alone when you have a family at home is a very lonely thing.
Yeah, but I do want to remind your audience there's 7 children involved with these 4 men. 3 of them have children, so there's 7 children. So my children at trampoline park, they're good. I'm here for the men.
Jason, we'll do it again whenever possible. I'll see what my driving schedule is tomorrow, and Friday I'll be live with GadSat at 2:30, so we can do it before or we can do it after, depending on what's good
Wonderful.
for you.
Yeah, you send me a link, and when I can, I'll jump on, and you'll see that here.
Amazing. Tell everyone where they can find you, and I'll put the link in after.
Sure. I'm on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter as Jason Levine MP, and I do stream every morning. So Viva, I'll be talking about this tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern, and I'm about to go live at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern to do a recap of the entire day today as well. So you can find me daily doing these streams.
And that is Levine, like Avril Lavigne, Lavigene, and not Levine, like Adam Levine, Levine.
Well, yeah, I do want to correct the record. You're right. It's Lavigene, but Avril's like me. I am older.
All right. We'll do. Jason, we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much, Viva. You have a great
Thank
day.
you.
You
too.
Take care, everybody. God bless.
Bye-bye. Well, that's amazing. Okay, that's the news from Lethbridge. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to go now over to Rumble. I'm almost done. Go watch it. Okay. Now the kid wants. We're going to pull out a tooth tonight. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We'll ask the internet how we should pull it out. Okay. He's got a loose tooth. We're going to pull out the tooth. Everybody, head on over to Rumble now. We're going to carry on with the remaining discussion on Rumble. Then we're going to go over to Locals. I'll take some questions there, and maybe we'll pull out the tooth live on Locals. That might be good. Jason Levine, check him out, and I'll put the links in after the stream is over. Ending on YouTube, going over to Rumble, then to Locals. So let's do this. No, gosh darn, what's my problem? End on YouTube. 3, 2, 1.